On November 3rd, 2008, the coastal town of Blackwater Cove experienced a weather event unlike anything recorded in its history. According to official reports, a dense fog rolled in from the ocean shortly after midnight. Fog itself was nothing unusual. The town had experienced heavy sea fog for decades. What made this event different was what people claimed to see moving inside it.
Over the next 48 hours, 17 residents disappeared. Hundreds reported sightings of the same unidentified figure. Several emergency recordings captured sounds that investigators could not explain. And by the time the fog finally lifted, an entire section of coastline had been permanently abandoned. Locals still refer to the incident by a single name: the thing in the fog. Blackwater Cove was a small fishing community located along a remote stretch of coastline. The population at the time was approximately 4,000 residents. The town depended heavily on tourism and commercial fishing. Crime rates were low. Major incidents were rare. That changed shortly after 12:40 a.m. on November 3rd.
Weather stations detected an unusually rapid drop in visibility along the shoreline. Within 20 minutes, visibility had fallen to less than 3 feet. Witnesses described the fog as different from anything they had seen before. It appeared thicker, darker, almost solid. Several residents reported that flashlights seemed unable to penetrate it. Others claimed the fog reflected very little light. One witness compared it to walking into a wall. Initially, authorities treated the event as a severe weather advisory. Residents were instructed to remain indoors until conditions improved. Instead, emergency services began receiving strange calls. The first report came from a fisherman named Daniel Reeves. At 1:08 a.m., Reeves contacted local dispatch while returning from the harbour. According to the recording, he reported seeing a tall figure standing motionless on the shoreline. Dispatch assumed it was another resident. Reeves disagreed. He repeatedly stated that the figure was far too large to be human.
When asked for clarification, he estimated its height at approximately 100 feet. The dispatcher believed he was mistaken due to poor visibility. The call ended after Reeves returned home. Less than an hour later, he vanished. His truck was discovered parked outside his residence. The keys remained in the ignition. The driver's side door was open. Daniel Reeves was never found. By sunrise, similar reports had begun arriving from across town. Witnesses consistently described a tall shape moving within the fog. Most sightings lasted only seconds. The figure never appeared clearly. It was always partially obscured, always distant, always watching. Despite variations in testimony, several details remained remarkably consistent. The figure appeared extremely thin. Its limbs seemed unnaturally long. It moved slowly. And whenever someone attempted to approach it, visibility somehow became worse. No witness successfully reached the location where the figure had been observed. It simply disappeared back into the fog. At approximately 9:30 a.m.,
local police began conducting door-to-door welfare checks. Several residents had failed to answer phone calls from relatives. The checks uncovered 3 additional disappearances. In each case, personal belongings remained behind. There were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of struggle, no indication that anyone had left voluntarily. The missing individuals appeared to have simply vanished.
Authorities established a temporary command center near the harbor. Search teams were organized. The operation quickly encountered an unexpected problem. The fog appeared to interfere with navigation. Experienced officers repeatedly became disoriented, despite operating in familiar areas. Several teams reported walking in circles. Others described hearing sounds that seemed to come from impossible directions. One officer stated that he heard voices calling for help directly ahead of him. His partner claimed the voices were coming from behind.
Audio recordings captured faint sounds but failed to identify their source. The investigation took a darker turn that evening. At 7:14 p.m., a security camera overlooking Harbour Road captured what would become the most discussed footage of the incident. The recording lasts 22 seconds.
It shows an empty street consumed by fog. For the first 16 seconds, nothing unusual occurs. Then, a shape becomes visible. The figure emerges slowly from the mist. Analysis suggests it stands significantly taller than a normal human. Its proportions appear distorted. The arms extend below the knees. The head seems elongated. Most disturbing is the movement. The figure does not walk. Instead, it appears to glide forward without any visible change in posture. After moving approximately 30 feet, it disappears back into the fog.
The footage remains authentic. No evidence of manipulation was ever discovered. Experts have proposed numerous explanations. None account for all observed details. The video remains unexplained. Following the release of the footage to local authorities, reports increased dramatically. Residents who had previously dismissed the sightings began contacting emergency services. Many claimed they had seen the figure outside their homes. Others reported hearing footsteps circling their buildings during the night. Several witnesses described hearing tapping sounds on windows. When they looked outside, they saw nothing except fog. One report came from a family living near the northern cliffs.
According to their statement, something stood outside their house for nearly 2 hours. The family never observed the figure directly. Instead, they saw a silhouette through the fog. It remained completely motionless. At approximately 2 a.m., the silhouette disappeared. The following morning, investigators discovered unusual impressions in the wet ground surrounding the property. The marks resembled footprints. No known animal matched the pattern. No explanation was found. By the second day, fear had spread throughout the town. Businesses closed. Schools suspended operations. Residents remained indoors. The fog showed no signs of lifting. Then, emergency dispatch received a call that would become one of the most important pieces of evidence in the case. The caller was a maintenance worker stationed near the old lighthouse outside town.
His transmission was recorded at 11:42 a.m. The man reported movement outside the building. He initially believed someone was attempting to enter. As the recording continues, his tone changes. He becomes increasingly distressed. Investigators later enhanced the audio. Beneath the caller's voice, another sound can be heard. A slow, rhythmic noise, like footsteps. The spacing between each step is unusually wide, far wider than a normal human stride. The maintenance worker then says something that would appear in numerous later reports. It's getting taller.
Moments later, the call ends abruptly. Search teams reached the lighthouse approximately 30 minutes later. The worker was gone. His vehicle remained parked outside. The building showed no signs of forced entry. He was never seen again. That evening, state authorities assumed control of the investigation. Additional personnel were deployed. Roadblocks were established around Blackwater Cove. Officials publicly attributed the disappearances to hazardous environmental conditions. Privately, investigators were struggling to explain mounting evidence. At least 40 independent witnesses had described the same figure. Multiple recordings existed, and yet no one had managed to obtain a clear image. Every attempt resulted in distortion, interference, or reduced visibility. Even infrared equipment produced inconsistent results.
The figure appeared colder than the surrounding environment. Such readings should have been impossible. Shortly after midnight on November 5th, the incident reached its peak. Numerous residents simultaneously contacted emergency services. All reported the same event. The figure had entered town. Witnesses described seeing the shape moving through streets previously hidden by fog. For the first time, people observed it at relatively close range. The descriptions were nearly identical. The entity appeared humanoid, but impossibly tall. Its skin seemed pale grey. Its limbs were elongated beyond normal proportions. Its face lacked visible features. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just a smooth surface where a face should have been. Yet witnesses consistently reported feeling watched. Several individuals claimed the figure stopped outside their homes before continuing onward. No one reported direct physical contact. No attacks occurred. The entity simply moved through town. Then it headed toward the coastline. What happened next remains one of the strangest aspects of the entire incident. At approximately 2:17 a.m., every active emergency call from Blackwater Cove recorded the same sound. A low-frequency noise lasting 7 seconds. Experts compared it to a distant horn. Others described it as a whale call. Some believed it sounded mechanical. No source was ever identified. Immediately afterward, the fog began to recede. For the first time in nearly 2 days, visibility improved. By sunrise, the coastline was clear. The figure was gone. Search operations continued for weeks. None of the 17 missing residents were recovered. No remains were located. No evidence explained their disappearance. The official investigation concluded the following year. Authorities attributed the event to extreme weather, mass misidentification, and environmental hazards. Many residents rejected those conclusions, especially after investigators reviewed photographs taken after the fog lifted. Several images showed unusual markings along the shoreline. The impressions stretched for hundreds of feet. They resembled footprints.
The distance between prints suggested a stride far beyond any human capability. The tracks continued directly into the ocean, then vanished. Today, portions of Blackwater Cove remain abandoned. Tourists occasionally visit the area, hoping to experience the town's famous mystery. Most find nothing unusual. However, reports continue, particularly during periods of heavy fog. Residents still describe seeing a tall silhouette standing near the water, always distant, always partially obscured, always watching. There is one final detail worth noting. 6 months after the incident, investigators cataloging evidence discovered an anomaly within the lighthouse recording. A faint voice could be heard beneath the maintenance workers' final transmission. The voice was not detected during the original investigation. Audio enhancement revealed only 3 words. The phrase was extremely quiet. To this day, experts disagree about what was recorded, but most hear the same message. It's looking back. The source of the voice was never identified. Neither was the thing in the fog. And on certain mornings, when dense mist rolls in from the ocean, locals still avoid the shoreline. Because some believe the figure never left. They believe it is still standing somewhere beyond the fog, waiting for someone to come closer.